Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber continues to hear testimony of witness Kang Gek-il alias Dutch. Mr. M. Hoi, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Gracias. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nguyen Chi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to continue his testimony today, that is Kang Gek-il alias Dutch, is present in the courtroom. Thank you. President, thank you, Mr. M. Hoi. The chamber now decides on the request by Nguyen Chi. The chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Chi dated 15 June 2016, which states that due to his health, headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his presence at the 15 June 2016 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nguyen Chi by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC dated 15 June 2016, which notes that Nguyen Chi has back pain and feels dizzy when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nguyen Chi his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chi can follow. That applies for the whole day. And I'd like to hand the floor now to Judge Zama Lavange to continue putting questions to the witness.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, witness. Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, when we broke off, I was putting questions to you regarding Pang. I would like you to clarify something, because previously you also spoke of a cadre who was Ieng Sari's son-in-law, and you stated that you worked in relation with that cadre who was your friend, and you said that that person was implicated in confessions. And you had an opportunity to meet that person and to ask him whether he was afraid. And you said that you had withdrawn his name from the confessions. That is what you stated during the hearings of the 27th of March 2012, and it's document E1/54.1. After 11 hours 53. Do you understand what I am referring to? I am referring to a person whose, the spelling of whose name is not very clear. It is either Fun or Fun. Witness, do you understand the person I'm referring to, and do you have any details to provide regarding that person?
Thank you, Your Honor. In relation to the son-in-law of Ieng Sari, he was my friend since 1971, and it was likely that he was also related to my wife. And his native name was Hong. After he joined the revolution, he changed it to Poon, Comrade Poon. And of course, I know that man. As your question focused on the name of Ieng Sari's son-in-law.
Et est-ce que vous vous souvenez si...
And do you recall whether his name had been mentioned in confessions? And is it true that you subsequently withdrew his name from the confessions?
Comrade Poon was implicated, but I did not ask Pong about that. It was a separate matter, and I reported it to Uncle Noon. When an important person was implicated, I needed to sought advice from the upper echelon. And he said that why you were scared when enemy implicated important people like Poon. So when I returned to the workplace, then I instructed interrogators to ignore any responses in relation to Comrade Poon. So I did not ask Pong about this, but I asked Uncle Noon about this matter, because by that time Uncle Noon was in charge.
Et donc, si vous avez retiré...
And if you removed Pon's name, it was because Noon had given you instructions to do so. Is that correct?
In relation to the removal of Poon's name, was that I instructed the interrogator to instruct prisoners not to mention Poon's name, or to strike off the name, and not to write down the name in the confession. And this was done according to the instruction from Uncle Noon.
Bien. Quel était...
Very well. What was Pon's role? Because it would appear that he played a relatively significant role, and you were in touch with him while you were at S21. What was the relationship between Pon, S21, and possibly Office 870 and any other persons?
I contacted Poon in the capacity as we were friends, and that had nothing to do with the work. Poon never mentioned about my work at S21, nor did I mention about his medical experience. Poon spoke about his affair with Meng when Meng went to China, and Meng left a pen for Poon. So we spoke to one another in relation only to personal matters and not work-related.
Et quelle était la fonction occupée?
What were the duties carried out by Pon?
Before 1975, Poon was chairman of office of the Special Zone Hospital. In fact, there were two hospitals. One was for the treatment of soldiers and one for the treatment of civilians, and Puen was in charge of the one for the treatment of civilians. And after 17 April 1975, I knew he was in charge of a technical office, although I was not that clear since I did not delve into his work, although he was my friend.
Hier, quand je vous ai...
Yesterday, when I put questions to you regarding Pang, you referred to the arrests of cadres, referred to as cadres from Hanoi, and you talked of a person called Pun, who had implicated another person called Nun. Now, first of all, is the spelling of the names correct? Who exactly were you referring to? Who are those persons?
Thank you, John, for asking that question so that I can clarify it. Phum was a cadre from Hanoi. Angka arrested him and sent him to S21 when Nat was chairman and I was a deputy. At that time, the detention and the interrogation place was at the former National Headquarters, or PJ. During the interrogation, Nat instructed Phum to write on the blackboard about the traitors, that is CIA networks who were in the same network, included Mul Sambat alias Nyang. And that's what Phum wrote down on the blackboard. And Nat took Pong inside, and Pong saw what was written on the blackboard. And this is in response to your questions that as to when I saw a Pong, and that was the first time that I saw Pong. And later on, when I worked with Son Sen, I was with Son Sen together with Nat, and Son Sen said Phum implicated Nyam, that is Mul Sambat alias Nyang, and I was rather afraid upon hearing that, because in principle, when someone implicated a cadre inside or outside the rank, that was a confidential matter, but that name was written on the blackboard and it was seen by someone from outside. But then he said that Pong was a good person, so that should not be a concern. So let me clarify it again. That was the first time that I saw Pong.
Voilà. Et en ce qui concerne...
Very well. And as regards Nyon, he was also referred to under the name of Rosnium. Is that correct?
The real name of Nyam was Un. And when he joined the Isra movement to fight against the French, he changed his name to Mul Sambat, later on to Ruh Nyam. So all these three names refer to the same individual.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire...
Can you tell us what is your definition of a cadre from Hanoi? Who is a cadre from Hanoi?
A cadre from Hanoi, and this is based on my observation when I worked for the police department of the CPK. Cadres from Hanoi committed so many offenses against the principle of the CPK. So there were not many of them remained after 17 April 1975. And the first person that entered as 21, that is, those amongst those cadres from Hanoi, was Pham. So there were not many left, and Pham was the first of those cadres from Hanoi who entered as 21.
Est-ce qu'on appelait cadre de...
Did they call anyone who had been a member of the Indo-Chinese Communist Party or any person who had stayed in Hanoi a cadre from Hanoi?
Allow me to clarify it, Your Honor. After 20 July 1954, Ho Chi Minh took Sam Ngọc Minh to work with him in Hanoi, and then 1,700 cadres were sent for a training to the north part of Hanoi, and over there they were instructed to forfeit their Khmer nationality and to become Vietnamese, and to leave the Communist Party of Cambodia and to join the Labour Party of the Communists of Vietnam. They were then inducted into a military unit to study all aspects of techniques. And by 1976, they returned. Rather, 1971, they returned. And Pol Pot instructed them to abandon their June nationality and to become Khmer, and to leave the Labour Party of the Vietnamese Communist Party to be part of the CPK. So these 1,700 cadres returned, and that's what happened. And the masses or the people usually refer to them as cadres from Hanoi. And I do not know the official label for them by the CPK.
Et donc ces cadres.
So those cadres were purged before the 17th of April 1975 or after the 17th of April 1975? When did the purge of cadres from Hanoi start?
The purge of individuals amongst the cadres from Hanoi who committed offenses, I did not know. The only thing that I know was that some cadres from Hanoi were sent to M13. And that initially happened in 1973. And firstly, it was Bright Son alias Pot. He was from a battalion who was stationed in Koh Kong. This Bright Son was the secretary of that battalion. He was rather the deputy, and his superior was Ia Choi alias Jan. Later on, those cadres from Hanoi were sent from military refashion center and sent to M13. The three of them were interrogated and later on smashed.
Bien, j'aimerais...
Very well. Mr. Witness, I would like to show you a document, and we are moving into another line of questioning, leaving the issue of the cadres from Hanoi. I would like to look at document E3/1581. We'll be looking at the first 2 pages of this document, which contains confessions of Eng Pich. So it's document 1581, ERN in Khmer 00172992173000, in French 00224083, and in English 00822994 to 95. My first question is as follows. First of all, may I request that the cover page of this document be placed on the screen? And my first question is as follows. Do you recognize the handwriting on this document? First of all, the writing on the first page and then the writing on the second page.
The handwriting on the first page with the 99, with the last two digit 99 was Son Sen, and it was on the 19th January 1977, and the handwriting on the second page with the last two digit 00 is my handwriting, and it was dated 16th January 77.
Very well. Do I properly understand this document if I were to say that this document contains confessions you sent to Son Sen with the comments we find on the second page, and the comments on the first page are those of Son Sen? If yes, can you tell us to whom Son Sen's comments were addressed? Were those comments addressed to you or to someone else?
All the documents that I sent to Brother Son Sen and to Brother Noon, they never returned them to me. As for this document or annotation, it was meant for his 870 committee. In particular, it was meant for Brother Paul.
Alors,
it appears that on the first page, reference is being made to a person called Prasit, and that there is a recommendation that Prasit should no longer work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That being the case, do you know what they are referring to here? Why is such a recommendation being made?
This person, Prasad, was Brother Prasad, who was related to Brother Chun Chun. There were Chun Chun, Chun Chun, Chun Prasad, Chun Mom. However, Dr. Chun Chun was closely related to the revolutionary movement, and the request of Brother Kiel to the Politburo of the party center to remove Comrade Prasad. That was his request, and I did not see the decision from the party center. However, through my observation, Brother Prasad remained at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and later on he was sent to be stationed at the United Nations headquarters.
Donc, si je résume,
So if I sum up what you've said, you sent annotated confessions to Son Sen, and Son Sen himself made some annotations addressed to members of Office 870, and the recommendations made by Son Sen were not acted upon necessarily, since he said he should be withdrawn, and consequently Prasit was not withdrawn. Ultimately, he was not withdrawn.
It is my conclusion that the request of Brother Son Sen to Brother Paul to remove Brother Prasit was not decided or approved by Office 870. For that reason, Prasit remained in his position, and by 17 April 1975, rather by January 1979, he was sent to the United Nations headquarters.
est-ce que vous savez si les aveux
Do you know whether the confessions you sent to Son Sen were subsequently sent to zones and divisions? And who took the decision to send confessions to zones or divisions? Was it Son Sen or Office 870? You should answer this question in light of what you know, and if you don't know, say so.
During the regime, I knew it. In particular, the documents that were sent to zones. I actually asked Kon Aliskan, who actually came to testify before this chamber, about the documents sent by the party and what were the actions taken by those zones. And Kon said the upper echelon was rather humble in making requests to the zones and asked the zones to consider the matters and to act accordingly. And the zones actually respected the request by the upper echelon. Whatever was sent by the upper echelon, the zones would act upon and send those enemies, arrested and sent those enemies. That was the time Brother Noon told me that the zones knew how to do their work. But I did not see any document in relation to this, although I knew about that. And as for Kon, I believe his full name is Nikon, who was a younger brother of Son Sen.
And yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, you said that from time to time Nunchia would instruct you to withdraw certain names from the confessions. Before this being transmitted to the zones, in order not to reveal that some cadres had been implicated, and in order to allow their arrest later on. So did I understand you correctly? Did I understand the way that this worked correctly?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you for asking that question.
I would like to know if, aside from the transmission of confessions, if there was any kind of contact between the S21 center and other security centers. Did you receive information from other security centers, information regarding enemies, or do you know if some confessions obtained at S21 were forwarded to other security centers. And what I would like to focus on in particular are the Okang Seng Security Center, the Krang Tachang Security Center, and the Phnom Kral Security Center.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let me clarify that S21 received inclusive instructions from the center. The General Staff did not contact S21 in relation to Sonte Ba. So other zones did not contact S21 in relation to Sonte Ba. So S21 never received any instruction or documents from zones, and I was not the messenger for the standing committee of the center.
We have a certain number of documents on the case file that mention confessions forwarded to other security centers, or of S21 staff that went to work in other security centers. In particular, we have a witness by the name of Chom Se, who was heard before this chamber and who was also interviewed by the co-investigating judges, and he said that a person by the name of Nom who came from Phnom Penh and stayed for 2 months at Okan Seng in order to gather information on people who had been implicated in confessions that were obtained in Phnom Penh, and Chomse specified that now had interrogated 4 people in particular who held important positions within Brigade 801. This is document E3/407. Question answer number 6. Khmer ERN 00401318, English 00406224. So does the name No ring a bell? A certain No who apparently went to work in Okan Seng.
There was no individual named No among the important interrogators at S21. Important interrogators at S21 were Pon, Tui, and other individuals. So no, an individual by the name No at S21. I have heard once about this issue during the investigation stage, asking me about Kampong Cham zone, and I was asked whether interrogators went to the other security centers to train about interrogation. So no such event happened.
Here we're speaking about someone who came with confessions from S21 in order to interrogate people who were detained at Okan Seng. So you're telling us that you do not know No, but did some of your cadres leave S21 temporarily? Did they go to some places that you do not know? Did some cadres leave, or did all cadres stay at S21 on a permanent basis?
All cadres were engaged in work at S21. However, when my superior or Sun Sen went to work at the East, Ho was taken with him, and some members of the special unit were brought along with him when he went to work at the East. He used them as he was the commander, and they were working as the defense unit for him. I would like to bring another example for clarity. Concerning Santebal in Sector 32, the chief was Norm. Prisoners broke the prison and fled. And at the time I received the information about prisoners in Sector 32 of the West. The prisoners broke the prison and fled. I asked the permission from my superior to go down to that security center to see. And usually Sun Sen, when there was a request to him, he took off the glasses and rubbed his eyes to further consider about the request. And at the time, what happened to S21 and who made such a report to S21? So after hearing that, I was a bit afraid and I was silent. President, I would like to seek a clarification from you. In document C13/407, in that document, the person's name is No, not No. Perhaps there may have been confused with the name. No, not No. Mr. Witness, perhaps there is a mispronunciation of the name in the document that I have just mentioned. The person's name is No, not No, who was permitted by S21 to do the investigation about the confessions implicating others from Phnom Penh. Mr. Witness. Thank you, Mr. President. I have informed the Chamber already that there were many interrogators at S21. There were around 30 interrogators at S21. And I cannot recall that there is an individual named No. However, I would like to indicate that we do not have enough interrogators to do the job. And regarding laissez-passer, I needed to request laissez-passer from Brother Kyo. I got a laissez-passer from Brother Kyo in 1973. And that time he was the chief of the special zone of the North. I recognized his handwriting since that time. So, in summary, I did not have authorization to issue, let's say, passes for my staff members. So I was not entitled to write or issue a laissez-passer for No to go and do the investigation. Usually the Santebal in the sectors would report to the zones, and Santebals within the zones would report to the secretary of the zones. So in principle, the subordinates would respect the hierarchical order. The district would respect the secretary or the committee level of the district, and I myself respected my superior, so I had no power on other Santeba offices. In conclusion, I cannot recall an individual by the name No. Number two, I had no rights to issue a laissez-passer for my staff member to do the job outside S21. President, I think there is development in the proceedings, and based on the document that I have received, no, there is an individual by the name No, and Chamsai said that he did not remember where No from, and at the time he said No may have come from the headquarters of police from Phnom Penh. No may have come from the General Staff headquarters. So that is why there is a question of whether or not staff members from S21 were assigned to work at various offices, for example, Old Consign Center. Witness, Mr. President, no staff members from S21 were assigned to go and work in other Santebal offices. Son Sen, Brother Son Sen received instructions from Secretary of the Zone. So the Santebal offices within the zone receive the instruction from the zone. So usually this was the chain of command.
I'm now going to turn to another topic. Witness, can you tell us whom you would report to while Nunchia traveled to China and apparently to Korea in September 1978? We know that Nunchia traveled there because we have photographs that were taken in Beijing, document E3/3261, and he also made a speech before the Central Committee, or rather before the People's Assembly in Beijing. This is document E3/199, and this speech dates back to 3 September 1978. So during that time, whom would you report to while Nunchia was in China and in Korea?
Thank you, Your Honor. When Brother Nguyen went to China, I still recall it, and I also remember to whom I reported. Pang received the orders to go to S21, and the documents from me were sent to Uncle Nguyen through Tương. Sometime Comrade Jiu went to pick up or collect the documents from me, and Pang and Lin came to S21 as well during the time on some occasions. When Brother Nguyen went to China, Lin came to collect the documents and chit-chatted with me that Tương, he made a joke that Tương went to other country already. So again, Lin and Pang on some occasions came to S21 to collect the documents.
But did Lin and Pang have the ability to take decisions and to give you instructions? Or do you believe they were referring to someone who was above them? Do you know how things were organized in that regard?
Comrade Lin and Comrade Pong, they came to S21 as a spokesperson of Brother Paul. They came to S21 in the capacity of a spokespersons of Brother Paul. And usually, Comrade Lin would go to seek opinions of Brother Paul on some issues. I would like to make a report on one incident or one event. During the time, age 70 decided to have Brother Pierre arrested, and Brother Pierre may have been the secretary of Kyrgyz committee. Sao alias Sin, chief of Corps 17, came to make the arrest. And at the time, I was there with Lin, and it was not Brother Pierre at the location that we went to arrest Brother Pierre. Lin told me that that person was not Pierre, so he decided to go on a motorbike to seek the opinion from Brother Paul. At the time, we were informed that the individual was not Kia, said to the witness. So, in summary, Comrade Pong or Lin, when they went to S21, they were in the capacity of a spokesperson of Brother Paul.
Fine. I understood, therefore, that you spoke on the telephone with Son Sen and that you met Nguyen at the Suramarit school. Did you also have phone conversations with Uncle Nguyen? And did you have phone conversations with Uncle Paul?
First of all, I would like to tell the court about telephone conversations. I was always on phone conversations with Son Sen 1 hour or over 1 hour per day. And when he was transferred to the battlefield, I never had any phone conversations with my later superiors, since Brother Nguyen did not prefer phones communication or conversation, and usually Brother Paul did not prefer phone conversation as well. And there was one case that Paul used a telephone conversation as the last resort when he asked about the arrival of Brother Mon. So, in summary, I was always on phone conversation with Son Sen. After 15 August 1977, I, on some occasion, had telephone conversations, but not often. And for Nguyen Chia, he did not prefer phone conversations. And as I said, I had one phone conversation with Brother Paul in relation to the incident that I discussed.
Aside from the confessions that you would forward to your superiors, did you forward other documents to them, such as lists, staff lists, or prisoner lists at S21? Or did you forward photographs of prisoners at S21? Or even photographs of prisoners who had been executed? So there are different kinds of documents that I'd like to focus on. First of all, the lists of prisoners in order to know how many prisoners there were at S21, and other documents such as photographs. So can you shed some light on that, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. Besides confessions of prisoners, I forwarded other documents up the line. There is two. Concerning first the documents produced by S21, and the first document was produced in the case of Lee Pai, alias Pine, the member of General Staff of the East. I smashed Lee Pai, alias Pine, and 3 days later there was instruction from Sun Sen that Dick, Brother Paul wanted you to exhume Lee Pai's body to have a photograph taken. And at the time, I was thinking that there was bad smells from the body, but since there was instruction from Brother Paul, I had to exhume the body, and I used Crazil liquid to stop the stink smell. And after I got the instruction, I asked my staff members to exhume Lee Pai's body. Both the person who was responsible for the guard unit used a knife to put on the neck of Pine's body, and then the photograph was taken. And concerning the foreign prisoners, I also sent documents in relation to the 4 foreigners to my superior as well. I was warned not to keep the films or photographs, but I developed the photos to keep at S21. Nat, Brother Vaughan, and Brother Water were photographed as well by me under the instructions of the upper echelon. And for those we had already killed them, after we received the instruction from the upper echelon, we had to have the bodies exhumed, and later on we took photographs of them. And there was one occasion that I found maps of Vietnam, and then I forwarded those found maps to the center office. The document in relation to Alain Delors, the major CIA agent, and the document was about the information methods was found by me, and I sent that document to my superior. I have also found a document in relation to KGB agents of Soviet or USSR. I sent the document as well to my superior. Pang later on found a map in relation to ore deposit or mine, and I also forwarded that document or map of mine or ore to my superior.
Interpreter correction, the previous question was not based on staff but on prisoners. I put to you a question in order to know if you forwarded documents regarding the number of people at S21. So were your superiors interested in knowing the number of people who were detained at S21? Were they interested in knowing who arrived at S21 and who was executed? Did you forward this kind of information to your superiors?
No, to my recollection. The practice is that after complete interrogation, that individual would be sent out. Some prisoners were questioned or interrogated. Some information was asked by Brother Nguyen or Brother Paul about certain prisoners, whether or not they had been sent out. And they sometimes asked me about whether or not some prisoners had been sent out. I would like to bring a real example. One day, Brother Sun Sen made a telephone call to me. Duik, why I haven't received the confession of 1 penny? And I told him that I did not receive a 1 penny. One or 2 days later, he phoned me again and asked me about penny. And I told him that give me time to check whether he was in. So I asked my interrogators to check and find out whether he was sent into any security center in also other security centers. And I asked our interrogators whether 1 penny changed the name. And at the time, I was told that 1 penny's names was changed to Tit, and the wife's name was Chan. And I sent information to my superior. Later on, 1 penny was sent in. And because of the incident, Pang was blamed by Paul that he was not good in working approaches compared to Duik's. So usually the superiors did not receive the reports on prisoners from me.
Vous-même, est-ce que vous étiez...
How about you yourself? Were you interested in knowing the number of prisoners present at S21? you have told us that at a point in time you had to create room for more people to be admitted because you knew there were going to be significant purges. Did you keep track of staffing numbers at S21 on a regular basis or on and off?
In principle, as well as in terms of implementation, both went hand in hand. So when the prisoners arrive, there will be a list of names of those prisoners accompanied them. It was the superior who spoke to me about that people from Xinjiang were sent attached with the list, and that became a common practice, and I told her about that. And Lin also came to the office, and later on people would brought me the list of incoming prisoners, and that's the development of in terms of the list. And of course, sometimes it caught my interest as to which days important prisoners would be interrogated, and usually it was Ho who was in charge of that affair. One day I had a look at a total number of remaining prisoners, and there were more than 10,000 of them. Let's say 10,000. And that is why the office of the co-prosecutors made a combined list of prisoners there, and the number increased, but minimally. And the practice was based on the instructions from the upper echelon that when there were many prisoners, the instructions were to clear them out. And I kept certain the prisoners in case that the upper echelon required me to interrogate them. And that was my observation of what happened at the time.
Quand vous citez le nombre,
When you give the name or the number of 10,000 recent prisoners, is that a number you've taken as a haphazard number, or you did actually see that number of 10,000 prisoners at S21?
I kept the documents of prisoners, and I could make a total at any time. And on that day, I made a total of the number of the prisoners based on the available documents. At that time, I did not ask for my staff to do it, but I did it by myself.
et donc c'est en faisant le...
So you got that total based on documents in your possession. So that was the basis for the figure of 10,000 documents you had in your possession.
It was a little bit over 10,000.
Bien.
Very well. You have talked of photographs of persons who were executed. Can you tell us how frequently you sent those photographs? Is that something you did regularly, or you only sent them at request of the superiors, or you yourself took the initiative to send those photographs?
Allow me to clarify the matter. regarding my feeling at the time. The photographs were initially taken was that of Li Pale, Alice Payne, and the last sets of photos were those of Nat, Vaughan, and Hawk. And in between the first and the last, I could not know who else were photographs. There might be the photos of the Westerners. The photos of those who were killed or those who had just been killed were photographs based on the orders of Brother Noon. I did not do it arbitrarily, but Brother Noon actually instructed me to take the photos as well. And allow me to say about my feeling at the time that the upper echelon demanded the photos. In fact, I said, if they don't trust me, how could they use me to carry out my work? If I am ordered to kill them, then I kill them. That's how I felt at the time. And in principle, I knew that Brother Paul never trusted anyone.
Vous nous avez dit que vous avez...
You have told us that you forwarded photographs of foreign prisoners. Did you send those photographs of foreign prisoners once they had been executed or upon their arrival? What I have understood is that those foreign prisoners' bodies were subsequently burnt up. So which photographs are you referring to?
Regarding the photographs of Westerners, actually I kept a set at my house. The photographs taken of them when their ankles were shackled. And before they were burnt, of course they were not burnt alive. They were executed before they were burnt with car tires. And I do not recall whether photographs were taken after they had been executed and burned. But I had a set of photographs of those Westerners upon their arrival, and I kept them at my house. Thank you, Judge. It is now convenient for a short break. We take a break now and resume at 10:30. Court officer, please assist the witness at the waiting room reserved for witnesses and civil parties during the break time and invite him back into the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.